Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Schmidt Lavelle. My name is Tom Lavelle, and as always, I'm accompanied by Mr. Timothy Schmidt. We hope you're having a great week. We appreciate you listening. If you're liking what we're doing, please give us a like, a share, a follow. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell anyone that'll listen that Schmidt Lavelle is a great show that you thoroughly enjoy and that they should check out. I think it's some funny content about topical topics. Does that make
Uh,
sense?
Yeah, topical topics. I like that.
Topical topics, a lot of topical topics on Schmidt and Lavelle, and we cover them all from A to Z, from here to
Sports,
yeah.
movies, all that stuff.
We do it all, and
I
we have a
mean,
good time doing it. We hope you have a good time listening to what we do. And if you do, like I said, tell your friends, tell your family. We're trying to grow the show. We've been getting a lot of good feedback, thousands of views, tons of likes and comments. And you know what? People seem to be liking what we're doing. And the more we can get the word out, the better for us. So we'd appreciate it if you tell your friends and whoever you think might like our show, just a couple of guys, regular guys having a little fun. So on this week's episode, we're going to be covering the comments that we were just referencing. We'll be talking a little bit about Trey Turner and the Phillies. We'll be revisiting our great sport movies that we made our list, and some of the comments we got back on that. I took a trip to Pittsburgh, and we're going to be covering the drive out, the time spent, and a little bit about the food in Pittsburgh. And Timmy, we're going to be talking about something that as a parent, maybe a little scary, maybe a little you know,
gives
would
you gives you a little anxiety, Tom.
little
That's
anxiety
uh,
as a kid, something that you were looking forward to. We're talking about a sleepover, and most importantly, your first sleepover, first time sleeping out. So let's get right into the comments. Before that, Timmy, how was your weekend? Did you have a good weekend?
yeah.
Everything good?
I had the kids this weekend. Yeah, we talked about. Yeah, we just mentioned. Yeah, the sleepover. So that was planned. The girls had a sleepover this weekend at their friend's house,
And
which
where does their friend is their friend close, or where does their friend live?
yeah, over in Glenside, so not that far, but we went from there over to on Saturday. Took a trip over to the zoo. That was fun. Over there in Norristown. I
They
don't know if
had
you
the
ever
misters there.
the Misters were there. Yeah, you probably saw that on the Schmidt Lavelle. What was that? The story that we posted
Oh
there. Yeah, the,
yeah.
the Misters were out, and
Several
then
several comments on the misters. They liked you. I mean, dude, there's nothing better when it's a hot day and you can get up against a mister, I
so
guess I
the
should say.
well, it's a surprise when you find out that there is an actual Mister at the park. So that's really just it's almost like as a kid, you see a water fountain, you want to jump in it every time. When I was a kid, I know every time I passed a water fountain, and it was hot out. Obviously, I would want to jump in that thing to cool down. Now, as I got older, I've added a few pounds, and walking around the zoo is it could be quite the exercise a little bit. So you start to sweat a little bit more, and you need a situation where you're going to cool off and not just sitting in the shade. That doesn't really get the job done sometimes, Tom. So
No.
as I'm walking around this tiny zoo, the zoo is Elmwood Zoo out there in Norristown, which is it's a smaller zoo and has some cool amenities. There's a zip line and stuff like that there, which is great for the kids. But I'm walking around the zoo and there's 4 or 5 different misting stations, which I felt was fantastic. It's a great opportunity for me to hop underneath the mister and cool down. And there was about 15 kids in there that had to push aside and knock out of the
Out of my
way.
way. Yeah. I need to cool down.
Yeah, like get the hell out of here, kid.
Hey,
You've
you're
been up.
hogging all the mist.
No, it's great though
I'm
because
freaking sweating out here.
yeah, there's kids that just sit under there for 10, 15 minutes and they're soaked, dude, from head to toe. Uh, so that was it was interesting. And my kids love doing that stuff, and they love going out there and checking out some of the features were kind of down. So feeding the giraffes
Right.
That's the big thing in there at Elmwood Park Zoo. I'm saying that right. It's Elmwood, right?
Yeah, I've heard of Elmwood Zoo, Elmwood Park Zoo. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so that feature was shut down, but yeah, they still had the Jaguars and
Because
the
of
chimp.
COVID.
Nah, I hope not. It's been 3 years. Jesus Christ.
The giraffes
Uh,
have been getting COVID. We need to
yeah,
shut this down. When feeding the giraffes, please wear a mask and keep a distance of 6 feet.
yeah, yeah. It's pretty tough with giraffes because they're pretty tall. They're pretty
Yeah.
high up there. So
Really got to stick your neck out on that one.
yeah. But yeah, no, that was fun. Went swimming at the cousin's house, my Aunt Betty's, and they have a nice little 5 foot pool there that we absolutely abuse.
You
And
know
it's
what?
just
That's great because I've heard of a lot of people that have gotten pools, especially like maybe they're a little bit older now and they're unused. The honorary jabroni, he talks about his aunt and uncle have a pool that no one's been in for 3 years now. And
it should be a criminal act because look, these city pools, they're open and stuff like that, but they have like open swim for like an hour.
yeah,
And as soon as you get in there, it's just crowded and you never know what the hell you're diving into in some of those city pools.
yeah.
But the thing is, Tom, I do want to say, when I was a kid, I used to just scoff at the fact of a above ground pool. I hated an above ground pool. And it is only because I couldn't dive, I couldn't do flips into the deep end, right? Touch the bottom. Like that was like a big thing for me as a kid. I used to love, there's a 12-foot pool. I could get down, I could touch the pool. How long can I stay under? Could I do a cannonball or do a dive and touch the bottom of the pool, or swim from end to end of a in-ground pool. And there was a lot of in-ground pools in the neighborhood as I grew up, and we used to hit those left and right, and some would have a diving board. My aunt and uncle, Joe Gleason and Terry Gleason, they lived around the corner and they had a sliding board and a diving board. And that's all time right there.
Wow. They're rich.
Yeah. And then you would go like to some of your friends' house and they would like, oh, let's hop in the pool. And there'd be like a 4-foot pool above ground. And you're like, all right, it's kind of lame.
You know what? You were a pool snob.
Yeah. But now I love a 4-foot, 5-foot pool. It's perfect. It cools you
Yeah.
down. You can do the old whirlpool.
Nothing like a good whirlpool and an above ground pool.
Yeah, you can do the waves. I grab a giant float and I do the wave pool. I can make some water does fly out of the pool. And then you can do good old Marco Polo if you want. Throw that in there.
Love a good Marco Polo. Yeah, Timmy, you know what? And I think even I don't know if there was like a stigma of the above ground pool, but certainly not anymore. And a lot of these above ground pools can be pretty decked out, and they usually have a deck built around them now, or some portion of it has a deck built around, and they're great. I mean, we've debated on having the above ground pool too, but I just don't know if we can host like that. The people coming in, I don't have a bathroom. I have a bathroom in the basement, and I have a bathroom on the second floor. If I had a first floor bathroom, a pool would be a little easier.
Did we cover the bathroom situation? Did we talk about the bathroom thing? Yeah, the peeing in the pool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
oh yeah.
we did that on
Never.
a previous.
Me and you have never peed in a pool. I
No.
don't know if we're in the minority there, but I've never done it. I never will do it. I can get out and go somewhere else,
But you make a valid point there. You have to have a bathroom close by.
Right.
Hey, listen, if I see a kid peeing in my pool, he's getting ripped out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The hell out of here, kid.
All right. So let's get to some comments now. We've had a lot of videos that we posted this week and several comments coming on from our YouTube videos. We get a comment from Mr. Heastiff. My mom, this was talking about where your dad grew up. He says, my mom grew up near 29th and Diamond. Big difference between then and now. you know what? It's kind of sad when you think about it, how the city has changed over the years, and maybe the upkeep of these houses in these different neighborhoods that were once, family neighborhoods that were, fairly nice. And
Yeah.
now it seems like they're a little bit more run down. I talked about how when I dropped off someone down, I want to say it was 8th and Diamond. I remember
Yeah.
being like, whoa, like, you gonna be okay, bro? Like, I'm letting you out here, and it's tough. And your dad grew up somewhat close to that, right?
Well, no, he was, yeah, he was at 29th. He was at 29th and Diamond.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Did your
I don't
dad
think, no,
know?
I don't, no, I mean, they knew each other later as we grew up, but,
They ever put that
yeah,
together?
I don't think so. I think he Stiff's father might be younger than my dad. Not sure though. I would have to double check with him. But yeah, because to be honest with you, my dad mentioned where he lived when he thought it was 1973 when he got the COVID, and they asked him where he lived. The
Yeah. Oh
and
yeah.
he said
50.
2920. He said 2929 Diamond Street, which is not his ad, which is not his current address. Uh,
Yeah. Right. So then several comments on your video that you posted about there was a lot of talk about this standing ovation for Trey Turner. And what did we think about it? Do we like it? Do we dislike it? It's not a traditional Philly thing. We show love by tough love, basically.
hmm.
And this whole standing ovation and kind of and stuff like that. And a couple people said, this is Stylist Philly says, good point. You can't force things. It's unnatural. Mike McD 53 says F Turner and F his ovations. He effing sucks. And
See,
now
that's
that's traditional Philadelphia right there.
well, that's the dichotomy, right? Of like what you're gonna get as a Philadelphia sports fan, right? You have those passionate old school fans that are gonna be, hey, if you're not producing, you're not performing, we're not gonna cheer for you. We're gonna boo the hell out of you, right?
Right.
Until you figure it out. Now, as we've gotten more into mental health and things of that nature, right? Where we're looking at these players and look, Trey Turner's going to be here for another 11 years, right? It's you want to take care of your own, and you want to make sure this guy's in the right state of mind. So, the passion turns into compassion, and you feel for a guy that's struggling at his job. We've probably gone through it before, but certainly we don't get paid $330 million to do it, but
Not
um,
yet.
not yet. We're building the brand,
We're
Tom.
building the brand. Timmy,
Uh,
what about this? Let me throw this out to you. Was this something from the Philadelphia fans as almost like a sarcastic to FU to the rest of, like, we have a bad rap. A lot of times people
sure.
will talk about Philly fans as being harsh and being tough, and you don't want to play against them. They go cross the line, whatever. They're too hard on their own players. Was this kind of also an FU to the rest of the country that likes to take their shots at us and say, "Hey, guess what? Look at us. Look how good we are. We're clapping. We're giving an ovation to this guy saying, "Come on, you can do it."
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it. Yeah, if you want to take it that way, if you want to take it that in that direction, you could. For me, though, the landscape of Philadelphia sports has really changed over the course of like the last 5 to 10 years. And you've seen multiple examples of this happening with like Markel Fultz with his jump shot. Ben Simmons had some struggles, right? We talked about Alec Boehm, right? He's
Right.
had his own issues. And there's been nothing but support from the Philadelphia fan base until they finally turn. Like Ben Simmons, obviously we give him so many opportunities to perform, and the dunk in the playoffs that he passes up, and that it's just a critical mistake. You're not performing at this point, and it's like, hey, it's either shit or get off the pot, man. And I think it's more of a rewarding thing with the Philly fan base where we see a player trying, they're giving it the best they've got, and we reward players for effort, hard work, right?
Right.
Dedication, right? If they they
That's number
painted,
one in Philadelphia, the effort. If you're
yeah,
trying your best, and there's ways you can see it, you're gonna get, people are gonna say, hey, he might stink or whatever, but get behind you.
yeah. And there's certain players that are really good. I mean, Bryce Harper, as much as he just came out with a quote about the Philadelphia fan base, which was exceptional. It was a master class, right? If you're coming to the city of Philadelphia to play sports, I mean, watch Bryce Harper's the way he's started his career in Philadelphia and how he's carried himself with the fan base. He's interacted. He said nothing. He's said nothing but great things about the Philadelphia fan base. But he panders with the best of them. He'll say everything right.
He's the GOAT, dude.
And
He's
and
really
and hey, listen, I don't. I think it's authentic. I really do think it's
me
authentic
too.
because he hasn't been to a place like this that has cared as much as the Philadelphia fan base, and it's good to see. And look, it seems to have worked. Trey Turner's starting to come out of his slump a little bit. We've seen a couple home runs from him so far. He's
5 game hitting streak,
five
and
game minute, yeah, he's straight some extra base hits in a row. So I mean, it seems like look, what is what's the hurt is it going to cause a standing ovation? And look, I felt the same way. I was like, what are we doing with this guy, giving him a standing ovation? And maybe I was wrong. It was a great moment that we saw. Just to wrap this thing up, it was a great moment. He comes to the plate, he gets a standing ovation, right? You expect like a home run, right? Something out of a sports movie, but it didn't happen. But it happened on Saturday, not on Friday. So we got it a day later, but it was rewarding and it was cool to see. And again, the Philadelphia sports fan is in the national media for something positive and not negative, not throwing up on another fan or getting into a fight or, throwing a snowball at Santa Claus and all the bullshit that we've heard over the years and years. And now we start to see some positivity come towards the Philadelphia fan base. So it's great to see.
right. And you can see too, especially in the Phillies organization, players want to come here to play. We were highlighted last year in the playoffs, the atmosphere at Citizens Bank Park, Bedlam at the bank. It was unmatched throughout this country, and it was something that I think players saw and said, I want to play in that type of atmosphere with the fans that are as passionate as that. When you're winning in Philadelphia, I don't think there's a better place to be in the country, honestly. You're a god amongst men at that point if you're winning here. All right, so let's keep moving on. And we had a lot of comments and a lot of feedback from last week's show, in particular our top 5 sports movies of all time. Now, let's get to some of these comments. One from Zach_Smith. Can't believe Miracle wasn't mentioned. Now, I think we mentioned Miracle on the show. It wasn't in our top 10. Now, Timmy, do we want to say something about our list? First of all, we kind of just said, let's just do this. It was kind of like we fired from the hip on this one. We didn't research, do our homework. Obviously, we've done our homework and that we've watched all these movies and we've, love a lot of them. But it was just our top favorite list. Like when we were talking earlier, Happy Gilmore and Caddyshack. If you're defining the list on just straight sports and it's going to be a heart pumping, this and that, okay, maybe those aren't in the list, but this was just our list of movies that had sports in them that we loved and our, kind of thing. And we were both a little drunk too. So when you think about our list, maybe we would revise it a little bit. If we're talking about straight sports, maybe I take a Caddyshack out there. Can I argue that Caddyshack is a top 5 sports movie? Well, it's about golf and it's one of the funniest movies of all time. Of course I can, right? Same thing with Happy Gilmore.
Yeah. And let's just say too that we are not IMDb. This is not the American Film Institute. This is not the AFI undisputed top 10 sports list, movies of all time, right? Like that's not how it goes. Like we we did kind of like a draft real quick, and I had an internet list in front of me, and I was just kind of honestly, I don't know why the hell I put The Natural on
I gotta
there.
agree. Overrated movie. We're gonna get to that in a little bit, but yeah, keep going.
I think I even commented on the post like, look, I love Miracle. I thought Kurt Russell did a fantastic job as Herb Brooks in that movie. Um, it was really just well done from start to finish. I think I say that about a lot of the movies that we review here on that.
No, but it was. Miracle's a great movie. Remember the Titans was one that like was on my list that I thought it just, when I'm gonna eliminate A League of Their Own, A League of Their Own is one of my favorite sports movies of all time. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
love that movie. I think it's great from start to finish. And it's just whatever. We made our list and guess what, Timmy? We had the guts to put out our list. And a lot of these comments that were coming out there it's typical America these days. They're not offering us a solution or an answer. They're just trying to shit on it. You know what I
Hey,
mean?
your list sucks.
Yeah. Okay. So what would
Yeah.
you have on the list? None of your shit. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
come on, give me a break, dude. Like, put out a list and you tell me where you think. And you know what? There's a lot of movies that we had honorable mention, and then when we go and look at our list, like, you know what? Maybe we were a little drunk and we're removing The Natural and we're putting in Miracle. You know what I mean? Like,
Ladybugs.
Ladybugs. Yes. Rodney Dangerfield's greatest movie. So let's get back to a couple more of the comments. JTrav_HMP. Oh boy, you two are showing your age. Hoosiers with an emoji that's like a kind of like you know what I mean? I said, you don't like Hoosiers, and he commented that he could guard Jimmy Chitwood.
Yeah, yeah. Well, listen, I hated Hoosiers. I mean, I disliked the movie, so I didn't pick it. I agree with Trav, but and look, that's one of your top 5 movies, so you're entitled to that opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, most of the older sports movies are the better ones, Trav, just to give you a heads up. Okay. They haven't really made any great sports movies lately. I don't know if you gonna give me Moneyball. That sucked. That was overrated.
Overrated.
Let's make a movie about a team that does nothing. That
Yeah.
absolutely did nothing.
And then we give him credit for Boston winning the fucking World Series. Like, you had anything? Oh, well, they used the same tactics that Brad Pitt used. But like, shut the fuck up. You didn't win shit. Boston didn't win because of the fucking Oakland A's. All right, that's just not how it worked. And I feel like Moneyball is getting a resurgence because there's that video of Bryce Harper hitting the Bedlam at the Bank shot with the Moneyball music in the background, and it's like, whoa, Moneyball, it's like, yeah, it's a nice movie, whatever, it's not, it's not there. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but again,
and then I got some other dope telling me the greatest game ever played is a top fucking 5 movie, and you know what? Screw him.
Name names.
Yeah, no, you know what? He doesn't want to follow the show. You know what? Maybe I should tag him. Yo, Mont. Greatest game ever played, top 5 sports movie of all time. Shia LaBeouf. Are you kidding me?
Maybe, yeah. Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah.
I look a decent movie. Yeah, it's okay. It's on the golf
I don't
channel.
hate the movie, but
I'll tell you what's a better movie than that. Better golf movie than that. Tim Cup.
I mean, yeah, and Tim Cup ain't even that great. You know, like more entertaining. But so when
Rene
we were
Russo.
talking, I love me some Rene. But what we were talking about that is Kevin Costner the greatest sports movie actor of all time?
He's got an affinity for baseball. He's tied to
for
baseball.
Love of the Game, Field of Dreams, Draft Day, Bull Durham. Yeah. What am I missing? To be honest, McFarland USA is a great movie if you've never seen it, and it's about a cross country team in McFarland. And I'm telling you, if you like sports movies, that one is an awesome movie.
Robin Hood, archery.
Yes. I mean, I'm just saying that I think Kevin Costner is the GOAT of sports movies.
Yeah, and I actually sat down and watched Field of Dreams again on
Such a good movie.
Tuesday. I think it was like last Thursday, and it's just a great movie, man. It's such a feel good movie.
So good. And that's part of my problem with The Natural. It's not feel good. I
Nah,
know the end, whatever, but in
yeah.
sports, I need feel good, and I know
And
Rocky loses at the end of Rocky 1, but it's still feel good, like I don't know.
Glenn Close doesn't do it for me either in The
Yeah,
Natural.
it's awful. She doesn't do it for me in really anything, Glenn
I
Close.
mean, what world are you picking Close over? Um,
In
oh my
no
God,
world. In no world, Timmy.
what's her
There's
name?
not a world that you're picking. I don't know, but you're not picking her.
Vicky Vale. What's her name?
I don't know. I don't know her
Oh,
name.
Kim Basinger, dude.
Oh yeah. Oh, come on. No. But so, Timmy, we were saying how The Natural is overrated, and we can admit that. Look, this is Schmidt Lavelle. Guess what? We're shooting from the hip here, but we have something. We have a power here too. We have something in us that we are confident enough to admit, hey, you know what? Maybe we're like this is a problem with people sometimes. They can't change their mind. Guess what? We can change our mind on this show. We can say, you know what? After review, upon further review, the call has been changed. You know what I'm saying, Tim?
Yeah, let's go under the hood.
Yeah. And so we've gone under the hood. We think The Natural is a bit overrated. And it brought me to thinking, what is the most overrated movie of all time? And The Natural could be up at the top of that list. Tim, do you have a movie that you would say is the most overrated movie of all time?
I have two. One, which I went to the movies. There was so much hype about it. It was supposed to be this masterpiece. Had one of the best actors probably currently working right now, and it was Inception.
Inception with
I thought
Leonardo DiCaprio. Is that Leonardo DiCaprio?
I thought Inception was the like just it just didn't do anything for me. It was kind of brutal, to be honest with you. I just couldn't follow the storyline. It was just too, and it's a Christopher Nolan movie,
Yeah.
and he's always got like crazy ideas and different,
It's out
ways.
there. I hear what you're saying.
And it just had so much hype. I don't know if you remember how much hype it had. But yeah, there was a lot of good actors in that film. But Inception was probably one of the ones I thought was overrated, and I want to say one that I feel was overrated, and I think the entire world will disagree with me, and
Oh.
that is the Departed.
Whoa.
Uh,
The Departed. Now, Tim, I got to tell you something. The first time I saw The Departed, I said that movie sucked. Honestly, I was like, that movie's not that good. And it's funny, the more I watch it now, the more I like it. Like it's grown on me, The Departed. I thought it wasn't good the first time I saw it. I was like, it's all right. And maybe in my mind, like how you can build things up like it's gonna be this awesome movie.
mhm.
And I went and saw it and I didn't like really care for it. I thought Baldwin, I thought he wasn't that great in it, and I just thought it was like kind of all over and then like you know the end I just didn't love it. I didn't love it, but when I go now it's funny, like I catch it later and I'm like, oh man, that is a pretty good movie. I like some of the scenes where he's the informant and he's the guy and they're breaking his hand and it's like, tell me, this and that. And I was like, the second or third time I saw it, I said, you know what, I like this movie.
I thought DiCaprio was great. I thought Jack was great. I thought the whole movie was really good until the end. I thought the end was just a mess. I thought that they got to the end. Scorsese got to the end. He goes, "Shit, I got this great movie. How the hell am I going to end it now?" And it just seemed like a mess. You said a mess in your description a minute ago, and I felt that's the way it was. They just didn't know how to tie it up, and it was just. And if you haven't seen The Departed, everyone basically that's involved in this whole investigation gets killed, right?
Yeah.
And then like at the end of the movie, it's kind of it's really, really cheesy when Mark Wahlberg comes in, he kills Matt Damon's character, and they pan to it's a rat that's running across, like the
Yeah,
windowsill. It's like,
which would
all right,
never be happening.
like we get it, dude. Like, I mean, we get that Matt Damon was the rat, the whole deal. Like, you didn't have to show a video of a rat running across like the floor, whatever. It's just it was kind of like
Plus, there would never be a rat there. It just
right.
wouldn't be there, you
But
know?
that you understand what they're trying to do, right?
Yeah,
Like,
right, right.
and it's Scorsese, so it just seemed like it was so lazy of him to do that. Like, he's a much better director than to put that type of foreshadowing or whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
at the end of the movie. So I just thought The Departed was just like overrated. I thought it was a good movie, but overrated at the end because of the whole mess.
Yeah, I can get that. I can get behind that. You know what, Timmy? And I'm gonna put out my overrated movie. And it's a movie that, you know what, maybe it was hyped up for me too much. And I remember I was working at a restaurant, a little Italian restaurant, and I was washing dishes, and this waiter came up and said, "You got to see this movie. It's so good. It's like the best movie I've ever seen, and the ending and everything like that." So when he said that, I knew something was up with the ending. I didn't know what, you know. Either way, Fight Club. I feel like Fight Club is
Uh-huh.
just kind of like not a great movie. The way and it's funny because like you're talking about overrated movie and you say The Departed. It's not that you dislike the movie The Departed, but for the rating that it gets, people talk about these movies like they're the greatest movie that's ever been. There's people that are like that were at least on the Fight Club train, like this is the best movie I've ever seen in my life, and it's not that good. It Meatloaf with tits, you know what I mean? There's shit everywhere, and they got all the star power in there, but like I don't know, it was weird. It's like I'm not really into it. I didn't like it. I didn't think it was that great.
I uh I steal some quotes from that movie.
Yeah,
I
right. Everyone knows the quotes, and I
I
get that.
I like the movie. Yeah, at the end it has the whole Sixth Sense like ending where
Yeah, stupid.
yeah, the whole twist at the end, which is kind of
It's
crazy.
stupid. It's
But
just stupid.
when you go back and you look through the film, you're like, wow, that's kind of you look at it a different way when you watch it the second time after you figure out what happens at the end.
Yeah,
The idea is kind of cool, and then I think again it goes like way off the rails. Like,
yeah,
I get the Fight Club, and then all of a sudden like they're blowing up a city. What the
yeah.
fuck?
Right.
Just like what happens?
The dude shoots himself in the mouth, and I don't, Ed Norton, like, and I love Ed Norton, and I love Brad Pitt and all and Meatloaf. I fucking love Meatloaf too, but just
Yeah,
people talked
no,
about it like an incredible movie. It's all right.
I can see that. I can see that. But I mean, I remember I got into a fight when I was like 23 or something like that, and I was on my sales route, and like I had like a bloody lip, and like every account that I walked into, they're like, "Oh my god, like what happened to your face?" And I would go, first rule about Fight Clubs: you don't talk about Fight Club.
Great line.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I mean, it got you out of a lot of conversation because people didn't ask after that. They're like, okay, just go about your business, I guess.
Yeah, and they laugh about it, and you can move on. It's a great salesman move right there. But so, and even in the movie, like, and I guess so back in the day, we used to smoke weed all the time. Me and my friends were smoking weed all the time, and we had all these different pieces. And if you're familiar with the movie Half Baked, they have all these like pieces and bong. There's one called Wesley Pipes and Billy Bong Thornton and all this other stuff. They name their pieces in their bongs and whatever. So we had bought this bubbler, and it's a piece where like you put water in it and then you can smoke and it bubbles and whatever. And so we're all sitting around like, oh, what should we name it? What should we name this thing? And I just said, its name is Robert Paulson.
Yes.
Its name is
Yeah.
Robert Paulson. And we all started saying it. And so then we had this bubbler now named Robert Paulson. So, not that I hate the movie, but it just, it never really did it for me. All right. So moving on. This past weekend, Timmy, and have a feeling we're going to be covering it on our next show, Jabroni Drive. If you're listening to this and you're a fan of professional wrestling, Jabroni Drive, the hottest professional wrestling show in all of professional wrestling shows. I went to Pittsburgh, right? And first and foremost, the drive. People talk about the drive to Pittsburgh. Took us about 4.5 hours, maybe, with a stop at a rest stop, maybe 5 hours. It's not too bad. The thing with the drive is it's boring. It's just you're just kind of going. And the people on the road, I mean, it must have been at least half a dozen times where we had to pass these cars because it's like they're clearly texting, they're swerving here like right to left. They can't stay in the middle of their lane. They're on one side or the other. And on the way home, there was a car that was like, we had to get by this car, but then it was they couldn't, like, they were swerving all over the place. And I don't know what was going on. If the guy was all effed, I was like, is this person drunk? Like, what is going on with this? And besides that, it was okay. But the ride to Pittsburgh, people talk about it being a very boring ride. I'm sure you've heard this.
I've done this drive
Yeah.
because I lived in Ohio for 2 years, so I had to drive through Pittsburgh to get to Cincinnati. So I've done that drive back and forth, and obviously Cincinnati's a little bit longer than Pittsburgh, but driving through Pittsburgh was like brutal. And it doesn't get any better after Pittsburgh, I'll tell you that. You go through a tunnel and that's about it, and it's just flat wasteland, country road kind of. And if you're from the city, it's not really appealing, Tom, because you're usually stimulated by really bad and fast drivers with a lot of buildings and extreme traffic. And then you get out there and they don't really do well with the roads. The roads are all beat up and the potholes and all sorts of shit. And there's on the sides of the roads, there's
a lot of construction too.
Well, I mean,
like those roads, like, and not only that, big trucks, huge trucks on these, like on the highways, which makes sense. But it's like, you got these narrow 2-lane roads they seem like they've been doing construction on this since the beginning of time and will never end. Yeah. And you're like, all right, let's get around them. Let's get by this truck so we can get around the next truck and the next. And it's like, at night, forget it. And in a storm, which we hit for a little bit, forget that too. It's like, you can't see shit. I don't know if it's the mountains around it, but it seems like we always come into this storm that's like downpour, can't see, hazards on. What the fuck is happening? What wipers at full blast?
Not a good scene. Not a good scene.
Not.
There's did you come across any of the Jesus saves?
The Jesus billboards are out of control up there. What is the Jesus billboards on the way to Pittsburgh? You know what I mean? Like,
it's crazy because I guess they haven't saved much or he hasn't saved much because they've been up for quite some time. I mean, I was out in Cincinnati in 2011, so I'm still waiting, I guess.
There's a stretch there where I'm like, that's like the 5th Jesus Saves billboard in a row, like, all right, we get it. You know what I mean? Like, you say, like, just save me the time on this trip, will you?
As you start getting more towards Ohio, they start to get a little bit more aggressive because they start to tell you to repent. Like, it's like repent with like exclamation points, and then like go to confess. Like, you're like, all right, dude, like, what the hell is going on here? It's like,
we know what you did.
Yeah, my conscience is talking to me here.
Yeah.
What the hell?
I know what you did last summer.
They make you think twice. You're like, shit.
You're a sinner. The next billboard of Jesus knows you're a piece of shit. You better change your rules now. Oh man, yeah, dude, they're heavy with the Jesus bill. What would be the best Jesus billboard if they could put one up there? Like, God doesn't love you yet, but if you start praying maybe a little bit more, he might come around.
Keep trying, shithead.
Jesus says you're not doing enough. Pick it up.
Yeah.
Jesus says quit texting and driving. Oh man, but so we get out to Pittsburgh and the drive, okay. And we're staying out there. Funny story. My brother-in-law is a member at a country club, and it's called Allegheny Country Club. Um, Fan of the show. Your buddy, Mr. John Kruk, played there last week when Philly was in Pittsburgh to
Huh.
play. He played at Allegheny Country Club, and he was in what's the club championship, and he qualified. He was like one of the final 8 golfers to make it. He ended up, I think Eric shot a 72 to qualify, and with his handicap, it was a little bit lower. But his round was against Ben Roethlisberger that he shot against to qualify, and then they do like a match play style tournament that he had on Saturday morning. He lost, unfortunately, in the first round. His wife was very upset. She wasn't upset at all. She wanted him to lose. She was cheering for him to lose because she was sick of him golfing so much. But I was there, and I'm talking to we went to the pool, and as we're going to the pool, this gentleman kind of walks by, and Timmy, he drives a big Jeep. I know you're a Jeep guy, the no doors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And hey, how you doing? He gives us a wave. Hey, how you doing? Whatever. I'm trying to get my kid in there, my niece and nephew, whatever. And then like split second, I said, wait a second, was that Ben Roethlisberger? And Ben Roethlisberger, just gave us a how you doing, a nod, and got in his Jeep and took off. And I wasn't expecting him to drive a Jeep. So then I'm there, and I'm talking to one of these members. I guess he's friends with Eric, or maybe he just was by the poolside, and we end up BSing. And I said, yeah, I just saw Ben Roethlisberger. And he brings up, apparently Roethlisberger is a notorious cheater at golf. Like, I don't know how much weight this comes. And my brother-in-law said, hey, dude, I don't know. I played with him. He seemed pretty cool and this and that. But this guy seemed to think that, and I wish I remembered his name, but he seemed to think that Roethlisberger was quite the cheater. That apparently his handicap is 7, and it shouldn't be a 7. It should be a scratch.
We've
Okay.
Tom, we've touched on cheaters in golf.
Well, apparently Roethlisberger is a big time cheater, and I'm not like, and I wish I
Listen,
knew the name of the guy that said that, but I don't.
listen, we're not going to put any misinformation out there. Obviously, Ben Roethlisberger, famous, Pittsburgh Penguin center, famous hockey player,
All time leading scorer on the Pittsburgh basketball team, professional NBA basketball team.
But yeah, listen, it's crazy because as much as there are people that cheat, there's also as many people that accuse people of cheating
when they're very good, right?
Yeah, like I don't know. Yeah, he shot a 76, but I could have seen him. I don't know. Did I see him pick up a ball? Did he take another stroke? I don't know.
All right, can I tell you a little, and believe me, because my brother-in-law played with him the day before, and I'm quizzing him now. I'm like, is Roethlisberger cheating? He's like, dude, I don't know. I'm not that guy that's gonna be like trying to. And I was like, was there anything? And he said, I'll tell you something that was strange. He had a caddy. My brother-in-law had a caddy, right? Roethlisberger, I guess, plays in a cart by himself and just drives up and goes into, wherever he's at. And, any ball that's in whatever is there. He said the only thing that's kind of sketchy is that he is by himself and goes ahead of. Okay. But he said otherwise it seemed pretty natural, and, he can't, he's not going to do that. You know what I mean? Like he can't do that. So I'm going to do it for him and say Ben Roethlisberger is a big cheater.
This is what we're going to do. Me and you and your brother-in-law, we'll invite Ben if he wants to come and play with us, and we'll have a match. And we'll see. We'll see. We're calling you out, Ben.
We're calling you out, Ben.
Me versus you.
That might be my favorite moment from this whole entire show. All right, one last thing. We were eating a lot out there, and it's funny when you go out and you see family and you're hanging out, and I'm sure you've seen this on vacation and this and that. Maybe we've touched on it before. all you do is you eat and you go out. Where are we going to eat next? And what are we going to get to eat? Or are we going to cook here? Or what are we going to do? And like, it's like you're finishing one meal and discussing what you're going to do for the next meal. I mean, we were eating everything out there, and these places like we were at the country club. They had some nice food to offer, and there was a nice little coffee shop that we got some decent stuff around here. But Timmy, I don't know if we're spoiled. Yeah, you know what? I do know we're
Yeah,
spoiled
yeah. I
being
mean,
around here. Pittsburgh doesn't touch Philadelphia when it comes to food. I mean, it's not even close, dude. It's really not even close. There's a ton of chains out there. Everything's a chain. You know, it's like, oh, let's go check out this place. It's just not like they don't have the breads like we do, you know.
mm,
And it's kind of baffling to me because I feel like Pittsburgh should have like a really good food scene, don't you think? Like, and I know they have Pamani Brothers, but like, I feel like that, like, kind of like wholesome, like, you know, just homemade kind of like, I don't know, they should have like dumplings or something that's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, am I
strange.
crazy?
No, no, I get it. So it's the same way. I told you, I lived in Cincinnati for a couple of years, and it's the same way in Ohio. There's nothing really that stands out in Ohio. There was a couple things, right? So Skyline Chili is the thing out there, chili, right? And
Yeah.
it's like no one has like good homemade chili. Everyone goes to Skyline, and there's different ways to prepare it. And Skyline is their like local chain. It's like a Wawa out there, right? Like to us. And it's baffling to me because you would expect that there's some corner delis, right? Or some mom and pop stores that like serve great roast beef or great, whatever it is that we experience on a regular basis. Hot roast pork, cheesesteaks, right? You can make your own cheesesteaks. I'm not saying that they're going to be compared to what we have here, but I mean, give it a little variety there, and
Timmy, in
open
like a
up a shop.
1 mile area, you got Lenny's. I mean, even like a chain like Primo's, you got TNF, right? You got Maria's that's got a good Italian place. You got Roma's, you got Alex's, you got
Yep.
From the Boot, you got, I mean, like, this is just in like a 2 mile stretch. You
Yeah.
know what I
No.
mean? Like,
Yeah. Well, we are spoiled, and not a lot of cities have what we have, and the food is great. You always hear whenever you travel about how great the food is in Philadelphia, and it's hard to pass up. Look, there's great restaurants in other cities, but restaurants are different than what we're talking about here. We're talking about, a place to get a sandwich or a place to get, a nice little quick meal, right? Like a deli or something like that. That's local. That's really tied into the community like that we have here in pretty much every different county. I mean, Delco, like Chester County, all these different
I
counties,
grew
Montgomery
up in
County.
Lansdale and we had the corner deli that was awesome. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that
Uh-huh.
we would ride our bike to every day and we get like an Italian hoagie, a Rosenberger's iced tea or whatever. And that's just what we did. And dare I say, Tim, Philadelphia, and maybe this is news and maybe I'm just talking here now, but we're the best sandwich place in the world. Is there a better place to get sandwiches than Philadelphia? I'm serious. Like,
No,
if
I
you
mean,
go to
look,
Subway in Philadelphia, you're a piece of shit because Subway is garbage compared to any other. Like, there has to be a corner deli that's better than.
well, there's a lot of look, the East Coast usually have really the best sandwiches, the best food, right? You're talking New York City, Boston, I know has good food up there. And then the further north you get, the more seafood you become like you start seeing.
Yeah, they got
Um,
lobster rolls and stuff like that. Yeah,
like
but
every different part of the country has their different foods. But I'll tell you what, I'm not going to Pittsburgh for a good meal.
where where's their sandwich shops? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, where's your like Pittsburgh? Step your sandwich game up. It's bad, dude. Like, where's the corner deli? Open a corner deli. Like, I feel like they think Sheets is good, and like, I don't think
But
Wawa's good. You know what I mean? It's just convenient. Like,
yeah,
where's your corner delis? For real.
I haven't been to Pittsburgh, so I wouldn't know, Tom. You're asking the wrong person.
All right, well, you know what? I did give I shot a text out to a fan of our show, the Godfather Meat. I'm sure you might have heard of him. He told me a couple spots to check out in Pittsburgh. He did agree with me that it's not as good as Philadelphia. Maybe he's a little bit biased, but he says Pamela's for breakfast, Pittsburgh hash and hotcakes, Big Jim's in the Run, veal parm and Rubens, and Starlight Lounge pasta with peppers. Those were the three things he said, but he said I wasn't off when I said that Pittsburgh did not have the food scene like Philadelphia. It's not even close, dude. It's not even close. And
I
as
will
big
say,
sandwich guys,
yeah. Well, the Godfather, your buddy, the Godfather Meats. He's been local for I think the last 2 weeks,
yeah.
and he's done reviews at
Alex's. He's also done the
Alex's
Rook,
Pizza.
and but he's done them all over a place.
He was
There's
just
several
over at
places that what I want to check out.
he was just over at Mama's Cheesesteaks, which is my dad's favorite cheesesteak.
Yeah.
And a lot of people shit on Mama's, and I think Mama's is really solid. It's a huge sandwich.
Yeah.
It takes a lot to get down, but their chicken cheesesteak to me is one of the best in the area.
Well, he gave it like major props. It was one of the videos that he talked about where it was. Now, did it reach his top 10? I don't know. And
I don't think so. I think he
he's
gave it a lower score. The cheesesteak. I think he gave it a little bit of a lower score.
yeah, he's a Cooper Sharp guy. I know that. So if I know anything about the Godfather, maybe we'll do a little video with him on the Blackstone coming up, but we'll see, Timmy. I know he's a fan of our show, and I'm a fan of his stuff that he puts out too. And if you see my boy, he knows food. Believe that. So our last topic of the show, Timmy, a big weekend for your daughters. You'd mentioned it earlier. They had a big sleepover,
Oh
and
yeah.
there's some anxiety as a parent, and I want you maybe to touch on this. You go ahead. They had the sleepover. You paint the picture and
Well,
tell us how you were feeling.
my kids are 8 and 10, and look, they spend the weeks with their mom. So they're obviously at their mom's, and then they come with me on the weekends. So uh the thing with me is, like, I'm used to them sleeping out, right? So it's a little bit of a different dynamic for me. But when yeah, the suggestion came, and I asked the girls as I was driving from picking them up, and I said, girls, do you want to sleep over your friend's house tonight? And they were like, without the shadow of a doubt, they were like, let's go. Like, they were so pumped. And it was cool to see that excitement, right? Because
Yeah, I remember that excitement. That's, you
yeah,
know what, Timmy? It just kind of brought that like as a kid, that is exciting when you know you're sleeping over your friend's house.
yeah. And I was a little nervous because, like, I don't like losing time with my daughters, right?
Right.
But
And you're in charge.
right,
Something happens, like
exactly.
you're in a
So the
world there.
but the priority is always the kids. So
Right.
you want them to have a good time. You want them to enjoy themselves when they're spending time with their dad, right? Because we are divorced, right? You want to have them have a pleasant experience when they're down here. And I was happy to find out that they had not had a sleepover yet up in at their mom's house. So this is their first legit sleepover where they're sleeping over one of their friends' house. And yeah, I reluctantly said yes, but I knew that there was an opportunity that could arise where I'm picking them up at midnight because they're freaking out.
Right. So you got to be on call. You know that, and that's things that's happened, you know, especially someone feels uncomfortable. Next thing you know, you're getting a call, hey, they're not feeling great or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
So the big thing is, so my sister's friend is the person whose house they slept over. So it's my sister's good friend from Hallahan High School, and they've been good friends for forever. And their daughter and my daughters have become good friends over the course of time. And yeah, this was presented, and my sister was like, "Hey, I'll take them over." and we'll see how they get settled. And if they don't want to stay over, then yeah, just I told her, I was like, just bring them home if they're not happy. So like, it gets to like 10 o'clock and my sister's starting to wrap things up over there. And, you know, I FaceTime them and they are already in their pajamas. They're ready to go, dude. They're just, they're happy and they're ready to go. And it was a cool moment. And I felt pretty comfortable with it. I was like, all right, so let's just go through with it and see what happens. And yeah, I talked to Rachel, um, her friend, and I was texting back and forth with her. I was like, hey, if there's any issues, let me know. And I'm sitting there like watching the Phillies, like kind of sweating a little bit, like, all
Yeah.
right, like what's gonna happen? Because I know their habits, and they tend to come in and check on, like, they get nervous about sleeping alone and all this other stuff, but it went over well. I didn't hear a peep from Rachel. And in the morning they woke up and had breakfast and everything was good, dude. It just went out without a hitch and it was fantastic. Good reports. And yeah, they didn't give her any problems. So it was just like, hey, anxiety level gone. And yeah, it was their first and they couldn't have been happier. It was an awesome night. But like, it brought me back to like,
Dude, it's bringing me back. I'm just thinking about it now. Like, I'm almost thinking about too, like, I'm putting myself in your shoes and like, man, like what, like, it's so weird. Like, your kids sleeping over being like a moment, like, man, like my kids are growing up and here they are now over at sleeping over at a friend's house. And then you think about the great times that you had sleeping over at your friends' houses.
oh
And
yeah.
man, that's awesome. I love that.
It was like a regular thing for me. I mean, you had tons of friends growing up, and like there was always that one house, like the one friend that would always, like, the mom was always like, yeah, you can sleep over, no problem. You'd be like, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
sleep
right.
over.
And
And
then
then
you had the Kuba guys like, I gotta call my mom and we're gonna see if what hey mom, we're all
yeah.
hanging out and I'm thinking of it, like, would it be okay if I slept over the house? And then like she says yes, and they're like, she said yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, dude, oh, it was the best.
Dude, and then like if you had multiple kids sleeping over, dude, it was more of a I remember playing video games. Dude. We would play at my one buddy's house, Super Tecmo Bowl.
Oh,
And
I was just gonna say Tecmo Bowl.
we would play the whole season, playoffs, Super Bowl, everything in one night. We would just sit up, we'd skip all the games, all the regular season games sometimes, and we look at all the stats, and then like we get to the playoff. It was just like a crazy night. It was like Nintendo all night long,
Yeah,
ice cream, and then
yeah.
like, yeah, the mom would come in and check on us, and we'd all act like we were sleeping.
Yo, straight up, I just ducked. Like, yeah.
And then like
Oh,
she
what's up? I'm sorry, we were sleeping. What was
yeah,
that, Mrs. Smith?
yeah. And then you turn the game back on and you turn the TV on like super low and like you'd score a touchdown. You go,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
you
yeah. You're
couldn't make
celebrating
any noise.
silently, like
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
high five.
Uh, yeah, those are the great sleepover nights. Yeah, as you got older, things started to change. You would like sneak girls over and stuff like that. But yeah, that was when you got into like 15, 16.
Oh man, no, that's a
Oh,
whole nother episode. That is a whole nother episode. And I want to tell you something. We appreciate everyone out there that's still listening, that checks out our show on a weekly basis. We love you. We appreciate you. We want you to know that we're doing our best to put out some fun and interesting content, and we hope you like it. And if you do like it, please tell your friends about it. Maybe share some of our stuff that we put out on social media so people get to see what we're doing. We're getting a lot of great feedback, and the more people that know about it, the more it'll grow. And you can help be a part of that process of growing Schmidt Lavelle, maybe the greatest podcast ever in the history of man. Dare I say, the best? Timmy, anything you want to say to all the listeners out there before we sign off?
No, I want to address one listener, an old college buddy of mine, Brian Leland, for tuning in down in Maryland. Appreciate it, brother. Thanks for listening.
Brian Leland, my man. Till next week.